Live reacting to a Bastion rework idea. This was sent to me by a friend in my Discord. If you want to join my Discord and send me your own rework ideas, the link is down below. Now, I have not read this yet. This is from a good friend of mine, mod of the channel, Sir Tom Games. You will see him in chat. That's who I will be talking to this whole time. And Tom is one of the people I have spent many times spitballing my ideas at before I put them on YouTube, before I even started this channel really in the way that it is. Tom has been one of the guys I've talked to plenty about balance and reworks and all of that good stuff. So I do really trust his opinion, and I'm excited to see what he's come up with for Bastion. Because honestly, Bastion is one of the characters that I have not touched at all. I feel like there's not that much, or not that there's plenty to work with, but I feel like it's hard to make Bastion in a form that's like really accessible and good, healthy for the game. Yes, I am a Junkrat tank truther. Tom was the first person who had to hear that wild, horrible idea that I had. Now it's been shared with the world. Anyways, let's go ahead. I want to go, before I go into this, I want to talk about Bastion, what I think are problems with Bastion, but I think is probably okay with Bastion. And I don't really want to give you like where I would want to take the character. I want to see like where he takes it. So basically with Bastion, I mean, the problem with Bastion is that he's really linear and he's pretty one note because of it. Most of his value has to be in turret form. So when it's up, it's, very powerful, but also very easy to avoid and just wait out. And when it's down, Bastion is pretty weak. And basically, I mean, honestly, he's a sitting duck, to be honest, while he's not in turret form. He has no real good pressure. And there's no way Bastion can ever take angles. He requires too many resources, all of that. So Bastion is just very one note, but also much too resource intensive. Whenever Bastion is good, it's because his numbers are too good, and the comps are very centered around Bastion, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but Bastion himself is just not very interesting, so the comps around him also tend not to be very interesting. Now, to be fair, I like form swapping. I think that's a fun idea. It's a nice moment-to-moment gameplay loop. I like the grenade in theory. I think that it does too much damage right now. I would love for them to focus more on its utility. I think it's very fun and rewarding for Bastion to throw a really nice nade, like really planned out, and like actually displace somebody from around the cover that they're in or something like that. I think that is the most fun aspect of Bastion. I think this current iteration is definitely the most fun he has been, but not great, right? Like, he's still at the end of the day pretty low on the list of characters that I would find very engaging to play. So that's where I stand on Bastion. I agree that I think he needs a lot of help to become more engaging overall. So with that being said, Bastion rework. Bastion feels like he is really close to being a fun character. I think there are some core parts of his kit that you can't change, which makes a rework harder, but I feel pretty good about this one. I think that's true, right? Like, you can't get rid of the turret mode, right? And in any iteration of Bastion, he has to transform into the turret, right? Or he has to be at least in the turret. Maybe he doesn't transform. I think that's part of his identity too, but the turret is like, that is Bastion, right? Alright, so he's going to start here with the A36 grenade. His current grenade just feels like a bullshit spam ability that sometimes gets you random kills like a Junkrat. I think the best thing about this new ability is the ability to launch yourself. That is really fun. It's very niche and not really ever the play, to be honest with you. Currently, having more incentive to use it for your self-mobility, you're giving up damage in the process, but having like an actual other use for it would make it way more interesting. Damage is 15 direct hit. Okay, so we've got real numbers here. 15 direct hit, 100 to 50 splash, down splash enemy. Oh, I see. So that's a new versus to or old versus new, right? So we go down to 50 to 25, and then from the splash self damage, he's gonna bring that damage down too. Um, he's gonna have two charges, each which coming back on a 2 second cooldown. I think that's a good compromise, right? Make it weaker and then give him more opportunities to use it. What does he say actually? By reducing the self damage, giving Bastion a second aid, we increase his mobility while still making it have a cost to use mid fight. This allows him better access to high grounds while reducing the frustration of random grenade kills. Yeah, I really like this. I think the idea of just giving it charges instead of like drastically lowering the cooldown means effectively he gets one more use of it per fight, one or two, right? Depending on how he stores them. So before fights, he can actually set up, and mid fight, he can use one of them for rotation, and then another one for damage. Maybe he uses both for rotation, maybe he uses both for damage, right? And with these damage nerfs, it's not going to do nearly as much, and you can't just like double spam to get the same value as you could on live. You'd be getting, marginally more if you're able to hit two in a row. So yeah, I really like this. I think that's a really good idea. I would just go ahead and get rid of splash damage, honestly. I really the more I've played this game, the more that I realize that like splash damage to yourself is pretty like unneeded for most things. Now I think pulse bomb needs it because that's like risk reward, like either you do a pulse bomb or you die. Like don't be close to your pulse bomb. Other than that, I feel like the damage is so minimal anyways that it's just like it's not even really worked into their balance that like, oh, they're going to take a little more damage if they boost themselves somewhere. Like, let's just make boosting yourself places with that, part of the kit, right? Like, soldier shouldn't be punished for doing a rocket jump. Rocket jump is very niche, and getting rid of Helix Rocket is, what's it called? Like, really usually bad for soldiers. So also taking some damage in the process, it's not great. Like, I feel like we should just get rid of it in general. But yeah, I really do like this a lot. Also, I guess if the self-splash damage is scaled by distance, you could also do some min-maxing with how far away you are from the center and minimize how much damage you take. But yeah, that wasn't one of the numbers, or that was one of the numbers I wasn't sure about. I kept it so it could be another tuning knob, but ideally it's unneeded. Yeah, okay, I agree. I think that's right. I think in theory there's some complexity to it, but I think in practice it's better if it's just gone. So first ability, that is a lane approved stamp right there. Okay. Configuration, assault. Oh wow, that's it. I didn't realize that that's the only two things you change. Oh no, you changed the ult too. So we'll do the configuration assault. This ability will remain the same, except for when you are in turret mode, your grenade behaves differently. Oh, okay. Bastion with insane mobility in tank form could become oppressive. So instead, when in tank form, his grenade becomes more like his current one, dealing 15 direct hit and 150 splash. But its cooldown is turned more into a lobbing arc. Picture Hog Trap, but with more throw range. Okay. He is also unable to fire while using the grenade for a brief period to prevent it from just becoming extra damage. The point of this is to help him pressure out people from cover and force people into his line of sight, or line of his fire in tank mode. This also provides a trade-off where if you use your grenade for positioning for turret, you are missing a valuable cooldown while in turret mode. Okay, I like this in theory. I think I don't know if I talked about it directly earlier. I think if you increase the knockback instead of the actual damage it does, I think that it does what you want it to more effectively, but not, you know what I mean? Like, it's less frustrating when you hit by this big burst of damage. But if you're just like knocked out of cover with not that much damage done to you, but like now you have to like scramble and like basically it's Bastion. If he gets a good grenade, he forces a good resource by the time he's back into the next thing that he wants to do, right? But by the time he's out of turret mode and he's like going on his grenade offensive or whatever he may be doing nowadays, I feel like that's a more effective way. I think the high damage of it is just annoying. Especially, mixed with, you want it to do the displacement and do that fun stuff, but when it has that much, it's like, think about, remember when Cassonade, Magnetic Grenade, did like 130 damage or something ridiculous, right? Like that. That was also, I mean, Hinder is annoying, of course, as well. But, like, that was also super, super annoying. It's just like, okay, now I'm guaranteed to take 130 damage, right? And then if he gets one shot on me, I just die. Same thing with this. It's just like, I'm going to take 100 damage, and if I get knocked out of position, I am just dead. There's really nothing I can do about it. So, yeah, I think if you focus more on the knockback part rather than the damage, I think that's going to feel better for it's going to feel better for Bastion and be way less frustrating at the same time. But yeah, definitely, I think that is interesting though. I didn't even really talk about, like, I do like the idea of, like, having, like, you can't really damage that much while you're using the grenade, but also at that point, if it's for displacement, you need to be able to fire right away, right? Because people are going to get out of line of sight, like, right away, and if you can't, like, take advantage of that, then what's the point, right? Obviously, you could set it up for your team, but, yeah, I don't know. I feel like with Bastion's, like, high damage, I feel like that's the scary part, right? It's not just you've been knocked out of position, you're knocked out of position into a turret, right? So, no, it's good. I think this is good, like, on in the ballpark, right? It's like in the right direction. But yeah, okay. The ultimate Bastion ult has been interesting over the years. This is the hardest part. I've been a long advocate of getting him back his old ult, as his new ult is boring, uninteractive, and unusable mid-fight. However, it doesn't fit with the new no one-shot philosophy. Yeah, I think Bastion form, before he had any kind of self mobility, that was where the fun was with Bastion, right? It's like when you go into turret mode, it was not a good ult by any means in Overwatch 1, but that was really fun, right? He's got this whole new mode that he's got this insano projectile, and all of that. I'm gonna keep reading and see what you come up with before I continue, like, talking about artillery, or what it used to be called, tank mode or whatever. But I loved the old ult. It was really fun. I think combining the two could be interesting. Bastion goes into a third-person tank form and shoots 3 artillery shells. He can choose between explosive or fire, using left and right click to go for damage or zoning. These would ideally go high enough that they could go over a Rhine shield. It's kind of like it has like an arc. Is that what you're saying? Like, it's not like into the sky and down. It's like an arc. Let me see, where'd I go? They could go over a Rhine shield and could shoot from about Numbani edge of point to the bus. Okay, so not a very big distance. So, hopefully this makes an ult that makes him want to utilize his mobility to shoot it down from high ground, as well as making it a bit more interactive for both sides. Oh yeah, because you could, like, effectively extend its range if you start from a high ground or something like that. That's interesting. I think that's interesting. But it makes Bastion stop and fire, right? Like, you do have to stop and do all of that, right? Yeah, that to me is like Bastion. Yes, it is like a different, like, mode, but, like, having to just stop, sit behind a corner, and do all of that, and because you're super susceptible, like, I don't see the problem being solved here. In fact, it might even be worse, because you have to be relatively in line of sight of the enemy for you to do damage, and that just makes you super susceptible. Oh, you can move. Oh, I see now. Oh, okay. The third person camera was throwing me off. Okay, that's not too bad. And you could bomb yourself, right? Okay. I like okay. I think I do like that. Um, that's actually really interesting. It's a cool arc. It's a different skill for Bastion. Make it different than what he's shooting normally. So that's like a good moment to moment kind of thing. Explosive or fire. So you have your zoning tool, and then you have your like kill move, right? So you could use one type to stop, like clear an area and force people into the other type. You know, like you can use the fire to break off a like an exit, and then while they're trying to get away, it forces them into an explosion. And that's kind of like what you want to be doing on artillery mode anyways. And it keeps it more engaging. I think that's cool. I thought the lob would be hard in first person. Yeah, I get what you mean. um I think you're right about that. If you could have like a little like indicator of where it's going or something, that could work too. um but yeah, I think you're right. I like this. I do like this. I think it's a good middle ground. Um, and it kind of combines them, right? It's like got the ideas of both of them together. Um, I would totally be fine with Bastion ult. You know how Venture ult, right? How they don't kill with the shockwave, but it does like a lot of damage. And if you get like two good ones back to back, you will kill most people in the cast. I would be fine if we just gave him back the artillery or like the tank mode, and it was like that, where like he does like 125 damage or something. Um, and then maybe he can throw grenades in the middle of it, and then he can do even less damage. Who knows? But you wouldn't really need to do that because you can rocket boost yourself anyways. So yeah, I don't know. I think yours is cool. I think there is a way to bring back tank if you wanted to. But I like your fusion of those two ideas. I think those are good. Um, but yeah, that's about it. I guess the only thing here is that um, one, does it make Bastion any better overall? Like, is he going to be more consistent? Um, and two, does it make him less frustrating? Right? I think it definitely makes him less frustrating. Um, but I don't know if it necessarily solves the problem so much of like his usability outside of assault mode, right? I think he's still really big, really susceptible to damage. He doesn't really have the best weapon ever when he's not in assault mode. And now that he's going to be flanking around more and more, like, I don't think you'd be doing it like flying around the map. I think it would be more, you would use it like a casserole where you're on your like a little soft angle, and then you just nade yourself back to your team or something. Which is better than just sitting on your tank and sitting in front of your supports and gathering all the resources. But it's still require like Bastion. I mean, it sounds like Bastion would be like his playstyle would get closer to a Cassidy, right? Where he can go a little bit out by himself, but ultimately he needs to stick with his core. Um, but he has, now he just has more options to make plays and do other stuff like that. And I think that's good. But I think Bastion, like, I don't know if I think his size is just like, it's kind of inherent to him. But it's so hard to balance around because you don't want to make him too tanky, but you also don't want to make him super glass candy because he just takes a million damage. Maybe he needs to get more armor. Maybe he just needs a passive. Like, maybe he just needs to take less damage. Like, I actually don't know. Um, that I feel like is really hard to figure out with Bastion, because we can change his kit all we want, but just the way that he is just this big, like, he's the odd man out in the DPS roster. He's so big. He's his health bar, basically, like, he just doesn't fit in as well with everybody. So it's hard to find the right balance of like how to keep Bastion like from being so weak outside of artillery mode when he has that damage reduction. Maybe he just maybe he just needs to have damage reduction all the time. Maybe less so when he's walking around, but maybe he just needs a little bit of it. And then with this proposed rework idea, it wouldn't be as frustrating because he wouldn't be as like high damaging, weird burst potential, and he'd still be like pretty susceptible. So especially if he's off more on his own and he could be caught out more. But yeah, that's it. Tom, if you have anything else to say, I'm going to start wrapping up here. I guess I forgot, after all of that discussion, what I really meant to say was perfect, no notes, obviously, as always. So you did a good job. I do appreciate the Bastion one. I feel like a Bastion is a hard character to talk about and to find good solutions that make him less frustrating. So it's looking like looks like he's good to go. So I'm gonna start the outro here. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, please make sure to do a like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. I forgot to put it at the beginning of the video, so I'm gonna have to edit myself in saying it. Whoopsies. Anyways, if you want to get in on these discussions live, that is going to be twitch.tv/Lane Hemingway. I try to do a discussion of some sort every single time I go live. And also, again, if you want to send me your own rework ideas, maybe you have like a hot take or something, join my Discord. It's in the link in the description. I always check it out, and very often I make videos on the stuff that people talk about. But with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Have a good day.